Hey, it is Friday, July 17th, 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, right here on the West Coast. I am Brandon Beliso, and this is Success Never Sleeps, where we as a collective of small business owners, in particular, martial arts school owners, we're just trying to figure out this thing called life, right? We want these businesses that are profitable, that work for us, that allow us to fulfill our version of success, nobody else's. And with that comes a lot of moving parts and a lot of moving people. So let's start by thanking our sponsors, all people I work with, Tucson Market Muscles, Kids Love Life Skills, LC Accounting, and Kin Creative. All these companies I work with. I don't simply influence or some type of ambassador for them. I work with them. They have huge impacts on my business. If you want to know more, reach out to any of them and say, Brandon said I need to talk to you. Cool. What do we got coming up? It's Time Live United, November 7th through the 10th. Right here in Millbury, California, 5 minutes from SFO. You need to be here. 4 days of transformation. And we are united. We have Kin Creative, and it's time merging together to create something pretty amazing. It's something I've always wanted to do. And now that the moving pieces are there, we're going to make it happen. So it's going to be a new incarnation of It's Time, but we are united as one. Just again, we want to impact lives and help children and do better for our communities. And you spend 4 days with me and Marco and Monique and Jason and Adam and Amon and Landon and the whole gang. I guarantee, and I don't do that often, I guarantee you will walk away transformed. Cool. So get signed up for that. I think we have a $199 discount right now. QR code's there. Maybe we can throw that into the chat as well. And then our mentoring group, we just finished our meeting. You know, we're small but mighty. We care about our clients. We're in their back pocket 24/7, 365. And we understand that it takes systems. It takes a brand. It takes social media. It takes community-based marketing. It takes curriculum development. It takes staff development. There's so many moving parts to creating a sustainable, successful business. And we, active school learners, active business people, collectively offer you real world advice. Not something we just chat GBT or grab from AI generic messaging. We live it every day. So we can honestly say, this don't work. And we can honestly say, this works. So DM Marco on that if you want to get on a call, and we'll go from there. Cool. So what's going on today, man? This is, very sensitive for me. Everybody knows I've been very public about this. August 4th, I get a quadruple bypass. Can you believe it? I know, right? I know, but long story short, a lot of it's genetics. And over 64 years, it's something I need to get done. The good news is my heart's in perfect shape. I have excellent blood flow. So the chance of me living a good old has been increased phenomenally. I just need to go through this inconvenience. But at the end of the rainbow, I will have new plumbing in my beautiful house. My house is my heart. My plumbing is crappy. I get that fixed. I think I'm unstoppable now. I'm going to be truly unstoppable. But as I'm coming into this, I think the one thing I've really reflected on that inspires me to want to share this with you today. And, a lot of people just want to turn a blind eye to this. And that's okay. I understand that. But if I ask you this question, if you get sick or hurt and cannot work indefinitely, how would that impact your business? Does your martial arts school work without you? That's the biggest thing, right? And I'll tell you where I am today. Number one, both my teams at both schools are solid. I was only teaching 1 day a week to begin with. So for them to cover that for the next 8 weeks, I said to TJ, you'll love this, Marco. I said to TJ, hey, technically in 3 weeks, I can be back teaching on Thursday. I just can't hold pads or anything like that, right? He says, I have you blocked out for 8. Thank you so much, right? Thank you, and thank you. And to me, that's something I'm super, super grateful for. So that's the first big thing. And I'll tell you how I got to that point, though, because that didn't just happen. Number two, I have incredible health insurance. One of my big fears being self-employed was if something major happened, and this is major, right? This is major, that it would totally deplete all of my financial resources to cover my medical expenses. So we'll talk about that. And then the third component, and another big one, is how I've structured my financial situation over the years to put myself in a position to be able to weather this situation. So let's start with the team. That was the big one. One thing I kept hearing all the time in the martial arts industry is that, it's hard to keep my staff. It's hard to keep employees. I said, okay, well, why is that? And as I did my research, I realized the majority of the martial arts industry never dedicates themselves to creating a business that people want to work for. Okay? Create a company that people want to work for. That's a big one, right? That's a really big one. So I sat with TJ and I remember this conversation because it was a very, very hard one that him and I had. We were in the shopping mall, in the food court. He was still young, and he was crying. He cried, and I was telling him, I want to get your brother to come join the work for us full time. And he says, to be honest with you, I would never do that. I would never do that. And I said, well, why? He said, because we don't have a career package. I said, well, enlighten me, young man. And because he believed, right? Because he decided to dedicate his life to this and make this his career. And I thank God for that too, because that's blind faith, blind trust, and just what he believes in me as a person. That's pretty cool. So I said, well, tell me. He says, number one, we need to have competitive salaries. I said, whoa, okay. We've always paid martial arts instructors like a day camp counselor or a PE teacher or a personal trainer or right on and on. So we need competitive salaries. Write that down. Okay, competitive salaries. Number two, room for advancement. Everybody needs to grow. Everybody needs to feel like they're getting somewhere, going somewhere, right? What's the next thing to look forward to? So maybe they come in entry level as a volunteer, then they become an assistant instructor, then they become an instructor, then they become a manager, then they become a partner. Sure, whatever path you want to create for that. Now, trust me on this one. In the mix of that comes a lot of distractions, and I've witnessed it because my average teammate has been there 15, 20 years now. They buy a home, they get married, they have kids. Those things, what it becomes at that point, at least what I'm learning today, is I just need to keep pace, right? Whatever their dreams are, you want to have another kid? This is what it's going to take. Can we support that to some degree, right? Oh, you want to buy a house? Can we support that? Right now, I think because they're busy raising babies and stuff, as long as their salaries are competitive, that thing about advancement may not be as important as getting enough sleep, right? Because I have a newborn baby. But I'm mindful. See, I share that with you because I'm still mindful of the potential of that becoming a need. So, room for advancement. Okay. And then we have a 401k safe harbor plan. Now, that's an ideal thing. I like a 401k safe harbor where we match 3% of their salary, because for me, that allows me and my wife to max ours out. Plus, it's pre-tax dollars. Plus, I don't pay capital gains every year. It sits there until I start taking it out well into retirement. So, safe harbor for me was the best financial, right? Plus, it's a write-off, right? It's a write-off what we match the employees for. So, a 401k safe harbor is what I recommend. And then, of course, vacation with pay. That's a must. That's a must. But I think from my own personal experience that the most fundamental thing that needs to shift is how you view your team. They are your best investment. Make no mistake. Make no mistake. If your number one source of revenue is your school, right, then your number one asset is your team, right? We buy homes, we pay mortgages, property taxes, and all that. Hopefully, at the end of the rainbow, we sell that house and there's some equity, right? Every time you pay payroll, that's that equity. That's the interest you're paying in the business, right? And people don't get that. I don't understand why people don't get that. If you make me $1, right? I didn't have anything. You made me $1. I did nothing for it, right? You made me $1. I give you 30 cents of that, and I keep 70. And I have the tax write-off of that 30 cents. So now my tax responsibility is reduced on that dollar. So I'm still probably going to walk away with at least 50 cents of that. Would you take that deal? Absolutely, because you did nothing for it. So I think our mindset shift, everyone tells me, my payroll's so high. My payroll's so high. Well, a good restaurant, their payroll's up around 35%. So when you come to me and say my payroll is low, it's only about 5%, I would believe you're doing the majority of the teaching. So you need to write that off as an expense and not just throw it into the pot at the end of the day and say, this is what I take in profit, because it's not. You're working for that money. Everybody with me on that? I hope so. Because I gave this scenario of a McDonald's. Average McDonald's is about $2 million grossing a year. Yet, the franchisee nets about 160,000 of that. That's pretty low. So between taxes, expenses, you know, licensing fees, all the rest, he's only taking home 160K out of $2 million. Again, he's not working there. So it's profit at the end of the day. So I want you to really think about that. It's not so much the nuts and bolts of, advancement, competitive salary, 401k, and of course a medical siphon. We also have a medical siphon for our guys once they age out off their parents' insurance. Everybody, it's standard. If you've been with me that long, like we have one coming up and he's going to be off his mom's medical insurance. We will give him X amount of dollars to cover him to get medical. Added value, right? We want to create company people want to work for. That is the whole goal here. They produce a lot of revenue for you. So medical siphon. And then, of course, everyday life, right? The things that happen. One of my guys had a baby and the state was going to give him, I think, 60 or 70% of his income, right? Not the full salary. And he can't take that. That's not a good hit. But he also needs to be with his baby, and his wife and his family. So we found a way to help supplement that. So he got the full 100%. He did some, work from home. See, but all those things create that relationship of value, right? So that is why the average teammate has been with me now for 15 years, some for 20, and I invest in them heavily. They feel so valued, right? That we get past that age-old thing in our industry that, well, if I train him really well, he's going to leave me and take half the students and open up down the street. Stop it. If you pay him so well and take so good care of your team, they have no reason to leave. You with me? And that's important because again, with all the school owners I've been blessed to work with over the years, that's one of the standard things. Oh, I lost a good teammate. Oh, I lost a good one. Oh, they left and opened up down the street. And I know we really believe that because we're the owner, we should get the lion's share. Okay, sure. But that McDonald's franchisee making 160K, I guarantee you he's making more than even the manager he pays in McDonald's. So he's still getting the lion's share at the end of the day. So we clear on that one? And if you come into the board, say hello. Tell me you're here. I love to know who's listening. I had a guy reach out and said, "Hey, how do I find links to the show?" I go, you watch the show?" He goes, "Yeah, I watch it all the time." I said, "Well, you need to say hi when you're here." So do say hello. So that's the first and the biggest one, right? Because if you think you do this thing alone, you're crazy. You're crazy, right? And if I don't make that mindset shift, then if something seriously happens and you don't have a team in place, you will lose your business, right? Just think about it right now, everybody watching this. And if you're a one-person show, really, really think about that. If you got sick or hurt and couldn't work indefinitely, how long would it be before you lost your school? Yeah, it's scary, right? I can't tell you how many years I flew by the seat of my pants. And again, by the grace of God, he kept me healthy and strong. So are we clear on that? Are we really, really clear on that? And that took studying companies outside the martial arts industry that I felt culturally were sound. Apple, big player to this day, go to the stock market, right? Nike, Disney. Think about that. So that really taught me a lot. Of course, TJ's education that day in the food court got me walking down the new path. All right. So the second one, of course, is medical insurance. So I remember two things happened in this zone. I said to myself, well, I realize right now if I get sick or hurt, one, I'd lose my business in 6 months to a year, but two, I would lose everything else because of medical bills, right? Because I was always thinking something major, something major. The minor stuff, that's easy to manage cost-wise. So people would say to me, you pay this much for your medical insurance. Why do you pay this much for your medical insurance? And I think now, it goes up every year. I've had Kaiser for 20 plus years. So I think it's up around $1,300 a month I pay. Okay. $1,300 a month. What is that a year? Right? Roughly $16,000, somewhere in that ballpark, times 16,000 by 20 years. Right? What do we get? Right? If I did the math on that, just because I've really, as I've sat with this, let's say 16,000 times 20 years. So I've spent over $300,000 on health insurance, right? For me and my family, technically. But this process I'm going into is going to cost me about $2,000 in a deductible. Everything else, and I think it's upwards of 150,000, even more by the time everything's done and said. All that will be out of pocket expense to me is about $2,000. So, am I recouping my investment? Oh, I think so. And then some. Are you with me? So that was the one thing, even when I was struggling, I didn't own a home yet or anything. I made sure I had excellent health insurance. Excellent health insurance. That part, I would encourage anyone that's a small business owner, do not skimp on that. Now, fortunately, some of you, your wives work, so they might have good insurance at the company they work for. That's great. More power to you. I don't have that luxury. My wife is a stay-at-home mom, and she works a bit with me in the companies. So we didn't have that. But stay with me. Even if you are on your wife's health insurance through her work, would I encourage you to create a medical fund? Yeah, a little extra goes a long way, right? And your kid might need braces and your wife's company will only cover $200 of it. You still got to come up with the other 5,000-6,000 for those braces. I know because I've been there. And so I think a supplemental medical account is a good thing. Plus, if you can get it in a tax write-off, even better. Another thing I want you to think about is life insurance, right? There's a lot of ways to slice and dice that. I went with a basic term. So if I die tomorrow, my wife gets $1 million. The goal would be to pay off the mortgage, and at least she won't lose the home because the businesses will pay for what they pay for them now, mortgage and everything. But I didn't want her to be stressed about that. So I think a life insurance policy is a good thing to have. I know. See, it's just stuff nobody wants to talk about, but it's something we need to talk about. Cool? Now, even if my guys rock, I need to be mindful that I need to write great systems, have great curriculum, and great methods of training. Now, when I first made the transition from doing all the teaching, I had to write systems. And then I had to train the team on them. Then we had to manage those systems and find out what worked and didn't. Gratefully, today I can say TJ does all the training of the team. I don't do any of it. I simply mentor TJ. Was that intentional? Yes. Was that by design? Yes, it was. So gratefully, I can say TJ builds the bench strength. TJ trains the team. TJ keeps everybody rocking and rolling. Why? Because the core product we deliver is martial arts instruction. Make no mistake. And I think a huge miss in our industry is I can't tell you how many school owners have not updated their curriculum for decades and decades and decades. And they wear it like a badge of honor, right? This is the way my teacher taught me and his teacher taught him, and this is the way it is. Cool? I don't recommend that. I think like anything, we need to evolve. And that's important. You want your martial arts to be relevant, and you want to update it all the time. All the time. Any great teacher is always challenging himself, improving his syllabus or his class plan for the year. Same thing here. So all those moving parts are in place. TJ's training the guys. He chooses them. We've got everything there. Everything's right down to great curriculum videos. And so all of that's in place. So this machine can run without me having to be there. Cool. And then third, and again, I feel very blessed. It's really important. They talk about saving for a rainy day, right? Saving for a rainy day. And I don't care if it's real estate. I don't care if it's CDs, you know, the stock market, however you want to do it. I have a self-directed 401k. And the brilliance of that is the money that goes into it is pre-tax dollars. I don't pay capital gains on what I make every year. It sits there compounding through dividends and buying and selling. But eventually, when I take that money out, I will pay taxes. But I'll be older, so I have the advantage of that, being a senior. Two, my overall general income will be lower. So I'll pay a lower tax dollar than I would if I took that money out today. And so again, I don't care if it's real estate or whatever. It's very great to have multiple revenue streams. Any entrepreneur will tell you that. So I think that's important as well. Cool. So let's review that. And if you're here, tell me you're here, and we'll put it in the comments. Tell me your thoughts. It's very vulnerable to share these things open because some of it's financial and otherwise. But I believe if I can share this information with you today, as I have everything, that it might put a spark in you, right? To go out and do some of these things so you don't find yourself in a position that could be very compromising, right? Very compromising. I see it every day now. It's kind of like when I bought my black my Lexus, my Tesla with this and that. I felt I was the only one that had the Tesla that looked like that. Lo and behold, now that's at the forefront of my thinking. I see the same type of Tesla like mine everywhere. So it's the same thing here. If you start really thinking about what it's going to take to secure your family's future and create a business that works for you, that through highs and lows is stable, then it'll happen. But if you simply ignore it, it'll never happen to me. I'll never get sick. I'll never get hurt. I'm going to teach until I'm 80. If you have that mentality purely, I believe you're setting yourself up for a potential world of it's very volatile. And we probably all have at least one story where we can say that we have an instructor that's old and broke and sick all the time. And they had this amazing school and they made all this money and et cetera, but they didn't plan. They didn't take the money they made and invested some of it in others. Now, I understand that. I just got back from Disneyland in Las Vegas, and I understand that, we use money to create memories with our family. I understand that. That's why people go to Disneyland and pay the ridiculous price, because they want to create that family memory one more time. But in that process, you need to be mindful. So whether it is something as simple as a CD or an online checking account that might yield you 3 to 4%, whatever it takes, if you're making money and you're spending all of it, that's bad business. Very bad business. A certain amount of what you make needs to be profit. It needs to be treated as profit. And a lot of that is just habit. Growing up on welfare and food stamps, we were in Disneyland in Vegas. We spared no expense. For the past week, since I've been back from Vegas, I eat better anyways when I eat at home. I've eaten better and I've been mindful of my expenses. That's conditioned thinking that serves me. And the yin to the yang of that, I tell people, I told my son this the other day, every morning I wake up, I'm broke. I'm on welfare and food stamps. That's where the hustle comes from. Hey, Bob, what's happening? You've been on a lot of vacations. So proud of you, sir. We're talking about creating those family memories right now. Bob Poole of Goals Martial Arts. And anyone else who's out there, tell me you're here. Let me know that you're here. And so we're having that deep discussion, Bob, as I get ready for my quadruple bypass. I hate saying open heart surgery because people freak out. That's happening August 4th. But just to summarize everything that is, the team's in place. TJ can run both businesses, which they have, for years now. I'm just a mentor to TJ. They have to fill in my spot on Thursday, which I was teaching on Thursdays in one location. That's nothing to fill. So we have a good team in place at both locations. We have some bench strength, so my businesses will run themselves. Number two, I have great health insurance, so I'm not going to lose everything in medical expenses. It's only going to be like a $2,000 deductible. Oh, your wife's a cardiologist. Well, I could share my story with her, Bob. Tell her to read it, because talk about the advent of AI. One of the brilliant things I did was I created an AI agent, right? You're a leading cardiologist, one of the top 10. You've done thousands of these surgeries. You draw research from only proven, without a doubt, nothing from Reddit or conspiracy theories. And 90% of what this AI agent has said, my general doctor, my cardiologist, and the surgeon, they've all concurred, Bob. It's a real trip. So the second part is I have really good health insurance. And that's in place. And then third, I have multiple revenue streams to help shore that up so my family doesn't lose everything, right? That's important. And we know often we hear it repeatedly. People get sick and the medical bills, they lose everything. I've heard that too many times. So I believe we've done pretty well. And this will be a test of that, right? This will be a test of that. And I shared that with the team. This is a great opportunity for you to really step forward. But I'm sure your wife will concur, Bob. Today's technology is amazing. I've shared their story because I've been immersed in this since June 3rd, right? Even before that, I was doing all these preliminary tests, but the final test was when they put the dye up my vein into my heart and they took pictures and videos. And when I woke up from that procedure, they said, you need a quadruple bypass. I said, whoa. So since June 3rd, I've gone down this rabbit hole and I've studied and I've studied and I've studied, and I've had so many conversations with so many different departments and people and x-rays and CT scans and ultrasounds, and I'm extremely well versed. So I think if you didn't get that part, Bob, my heart is perfectly healthy. My blood flow's been good all these years because I created collateral vessels, is what they call them, to compensate for the blockages that were building up over 40 years. Oh, yeah. Yeah. She's been doing it for 25 years. Things have changed a lot. Yeah. Oh my God. These guys, like the guy who's doing it has done over 8,000 or 4,000. He's done 800 in the past 5 years. Yep. So it's a trip. They talk like they're ordering takeout. I'm talking to ultrasound people, surgeons, and all talk like, yeah, it's like, hey, this is all new for me. I know you guys do this stuff every day, but for me, it's new. So it is. I think the technology has changed a lot. I have to go through it. That's the hard part, is going through it. So that's the last part, is what are your other revenue streams to help shore up? Because I'm deeply concerned. I'm deeply alarmed when I speak to school owners all the time, and they're a one-person show, and they have 100 students. They're 45, getting up into their 50s. They have nothing else to fall back on. They have no real savings. They have no other real investments. They're counting solely on the income of the school. And solely, they're the ones generating it because they're doing all the teaching. That's such a volatile position to be in. And not just the martial arts industry. There's bakeries like that, dry cleaners. Take your pick. There's a lot of small mom and pop businesses that behave that way. And it's extremely volatile. It's not one I recommend at all. And as I'm looking around me now, this new terrain, this new place that I'm living in, with this open heart surgery coming up on August 4th. I mean, I was already a very grateful spiritual soul to begin with. I am thanking God for my blessings every day. People go, how can you do that? Well, because fortunately, being the architect of my life and my business, over the past, I've had San Francisco for 26 years, Millbrae for 11. I've put all the pieces in place. And I don't think I've missed anything. I've really done the homework, and I'm still 3 weeks out from surgery. And as of 2 days ago, I had all my tests done so that the doctor, the anesthesiologist, the surgeon, everyone can study this data to best serve me on August 4th. Isn't that cool? I'm not being rushed into the hospital with a heart attack, rushed into emergency bypass surgery, methodically planning for this. Just like I've kept my body as healthy as I can leading up to this. The fact that I have a healthy heart, the fact that my blood flow has been good, to me is a miracle. So to be set up for my future 20, 30 years of good old, that works all day. But see where I'm going with all this? Um, this planning for a rainy day. People criticize me. Why are you paying so much for health insurance? There's a lot of stuff out there, so much cheaper, so much cheaper, so much cheaper. But in my research, I chose this. So if something major happened, I wouldn't lose my businesses in medical bills. I wouldn't lose my home in medical bills, and I'd be set. Cool. So that's the long and short, Bob. But nonetheless, I wanted to share that with you, and I'm going to share all of it with you because I'm not doing this alone. I'm doing it with everybody here. I'm going to do it with my family. So many people have reached out to me. I can't tell you how many people have had this surgery that have reached out to me, and all of it's good. In the words of Michael Jackson, you are not alone, and I'm not. So, and if it can help somebody, even more power. So, in summary, right? And then we'll start thanking our sponsors. Build a team. Right? Having that team, they're such gold to me, and they're good people. And all I want to do is take care of them and do more for them and pay them better. And I would never look at them as what does a personal trainer make, or what does a PE teacher make, or a kindergarten teacher. No, I look at them as valuable people that are allowing me to have total peace of mind as I go into this thing. TJ, his brother Lucas, the rest of them, Sifu Bender, they will all run this. Mr. Moore, Carrie Ann, my sister, they're going to run the show, and I know they can because they do it now. Number two, make sure you create a company people want to work for. You have loyalty, which is hard. You can't buy loyalty. You earn loyalty through your every thought, word, and action, the steps you take in facilitating your team, not only within your business, but in their own personal dreams. How do you support that? Earns loyalty. Okay. And then, of course, medical insurance, like I shared, having great medical insurance in place. And I've talked to everybody from the finance department. What is this going to cost me? What is this going to cost me? And at the end of the day, this procedure is $150,000 upward. It's only going to cost me $2,000 in the deductible. Don't skimp on that, please. Good health insurance, right? And then, of course, a life insurance policy. I know people criticize that, but to have the peace of mind of a simple term life insurance policy of $1 million to pay off my home so my wife doesn't lose it would be a good day. And then fourth, being an entrepreneur, and I'm almost a brown belt in entrepreneurship. I understand there's lots of ways to make money. Stock market, real estate, something more conservative like a CD or a bond if you want to do that. There's a lot of ways to make money, but I do encourage you at some point to create multiple revenue streams. And if that's more schools, fine, right? We're having this discussion the other day. I'm invested in Kin Creative, the digital media company out of Canada. But we talked the other day, like maybe starting a restaurant. Okay, I would be open to that. I love food. I would like to see that happen as well. The point I'm trying to make is please have multiple revenue streams. Cool. And that's it in a nutshell. That's everything. So I want to open up to questions. If you have thoughts, people have asked me a lot of stuff, like how did this happen to you? All the different things. But at the end of the day, this is where I'm at. I'm in the best shape of my life. I'm down about 17 pounds. My numbers, I've always had good blood pressure, but my cholesterol is great. I have a healthy heart. I have good blood flow. I'm going to come into this and preserve this great heart and move forward. So take that with you. Those of you that are prayerful people, on August 4th at 8:30 a.m., I go into this thing. I want everybody to be thinking about me, sending good love and vibe and energies. Cool? All right. So I hope that vulnerability, and I chose to do this, can help you. I can't express enough how I'm so grateful. I'm got all my ducks in a row, and we're set up for this. Cool? All right. Let's start by thanking those sponsors. Marco, wrap up the show a little early today. Who do we have? Tassal, Market Muscles, Kids of Life Skills, LC Accounting, Kin Creative. All companies I work with, all people I love and value deeply. And I recommend that you look into any of them, whether it's Tassal for your martial arts supply needs, uniforms, etc. Market Muscles for your website. Kids of Life Skills. If you don't have a character development system, you must have one. People come for the kicks and punches, but they stay because of the character development, the life skills, culture, right? LC Accounting, everybody needs a good bookkeeper, and Kin Creative. Digital media is here to stay. It's not going away, and it's something we all need because you don't market one way to 70 people. You market 70 ways to 70 people. And I do believe fundamental Facebook ads, Google ads, Instagram are mandatory. TikTok and Reddit, I don't think, not for what we do at this level. But if that changes, I'll let you know. Cool. It's time Live United. By then I'll be hip. I'll be ready. I'll be back in the pocket. November 7th through the 10th, right here in Millbury, California. It is United, Kin Creative, and it's time. We're coming together, our two teams, to present something very unique. And it falls right along with my philosophy. The industry is very segmented right now. I want to bring it together. So by bringing Kin Creative together with my It's Time group mentoring, we're going to offer you a 4-day experience that will transform your life. It will transform your life. I promise you. Get signed up now, and I think you can save a couple $100. We just had somebody else sign up. So now I think we have 16 spots left out of the 20. We're rolling. I know 15 after today, but we're rolling, right? It's only July, and already we have 5 of the spots filled. 15 left. Don't miss out. You need to be here. Cool. Mentoring. We give away 1 free month. We love people to experience what it's like. And it's like dating. Come spend a month with us in the mentoring program. Reach out to Marco. He'll get you all signed up with Chris and spend a month with us. And you'll see. Very proud of the group. Cool. So that's it for today. The more I talk about what I'm faced with, the better it is. The more I share, the better it is. I want to thank you for, humoring me, supporting me, and being here in this process. I'll continue to post videos and updates. I've talked to so many people in the industry over the past couple of weeks, and that part of it, to me, has been one of the greatest gifts, reconnecting, having people sharing their experiences with this process, and just knowing that I'm not alone, and I don't have to go through this thing alone. Cool? All right. I am Brandon Beliso. Thank you, Marco, holding down the fort. We're doing this because once I get into surgery, there'll be a bunch of reruns for a couple weeks until I'm back on my feet. And that's a whole nother thing we'll talk about in the next show. Cool. What are you sharing with me, Marco? What's Marco sharing? Marco, do you want to talk about the show being absent from very? Yeah, I thought about that. Marco, I did. And we will. What we're fundamentally looking at right now, and Bob, you might have some say since you're one of our most loyal supporters, is we're thinking of retooling the show, renaming it and heading down the path that says we're a martial arts thing, right? To me, I don't think it's information the martial arts industry suffers from. Predominantly, they suffer from a mindset. So the original concept of Success Never Sleeps is just really giving people a stark, real picture of the grind, of the dedication, of the sacrifice it takes to get to be a very successful, secure business. But we're having the conversation about going on a hiatus, and now would be the time to do that while I'm recovering to make that happen. So think about that, Bob. Yeah, so we are going to go on hiatus, and I'm going to take that time when I'm recovering to take that time to be on hiatus. Did I say that right, Marco? I said that well enough? I think so. So look for that, and we'll post that when that actually goes into effect. I'm going to try to stay with you in the next couple of weeks, I hope, leading up to the surgery, just because it's my commitment to you. Again, so many people watch this show. I can't believe it. Somebody reached out again and said, hey, how do I see the latest episodes? And I went, wow, I can't believe it. After a decade, people are still here. And someone actually took the time to reach out and said, I missed the past couple episodes. So we are going to retool it. I don't know what that all means, but we'll keep you posted. Cool. All right. Thank you, everybody, for being here today. Share this with people. How can they find me? Of course, you can find me on all the podcast platforms, everything from iHeartRadio, Amazon, Apple, Stitcher, YouTube, Spotify. We're on all of those platforms. Share it. I believe we offer good information unlike anything in our industry, and it's a good opportunity for you to pay it forward, right? Tell more people about this great show. For everything else, go to brandonbeliso.com. Cool? All right. I am Brandon Beliso. This is Success Never Sleeps. Until we talk again, what are you going to go out there and do? Live your best life.